So Leo gave me a call. I was living next door to Leo at the time. And he said, I just spoke to Baz, and Baz is thinking about making The Great Gatsby into a film. And he was talking about you for Nick Carraway and me for Jay Gatsby. And he's in town, and he'd love to get together. And I forgot what Leo said, you know, are you available tonight or tomorrow night or something like that? And I said, sure. And so we got together that night or the next night and spent a few hours, you know, catching up and then talking about this story and what Baz was thinking, and, you know, and then almost 4 years later, here we are. It was a blast, and the whole process was a lot of fun because, as you know, have you spoken to Baz and have you talked to him before? I mean, Baz is terrific. You know, I auditioned for Baz for Romeo and Juliet for a part in that movie, and I did not get the part, but I remember that audition for years because I had such a good time with him. He's you know, like Gatsby, he kind of puts you at ease right away and understands you. You know, in the book, Nick says something like, you know, his smile was one of those rare smiles that something like he understood you the way you wanted to be understood. And there's another little part there I can't remember, but that's how Baz is. He just gets in there with you, and right away you feel cared about, supported, and like you guys are going off on an exploration together. And that was my experience in like an hour-long audition, you know, 17 years ago or whenever Romeo and Juliet was, maybe longer now. Maybe that was closer to 20 years ago. Anyways, and so that was the journey of the film. So, you know, again, that was 4 years ago, that conversation, and we had many steps along the way. We had lots of conversations, phone conversations, emails. We would get together and have lunches, record voiceover early on. Then we did a workshop with just Leo and I, then the whole cast. Then we got on the set finally, and it was certainly one of those things where, you know, you'd go to the set even if you weren't working, to a new set just to check it out because the work was so beautiful and grand, and you know, the details in the set as it would unfold, as Baz utilized the sets, you'd see all the storytelling and all the detail that was built into those sets. So in that way it was great, and also, you know, it gives you a kind of feeling of authenticity when you're playing in the scenes. We talked about Nick being a kind of grounding presence, and the audiences in, and being the kind of relatable character who is, you know, a very decent kind of Midwestern guy with you know, good morals, and from a family that is a hardworking family in wholesale hardware, and he goes into this world that is largely beyond his experiences, and a social set that's, you know, fancier than he is, and he gets kind of initiated into this world, and I think he has a blast, but he doesn't lose who he is. At the same time, he gets caught up and has some fun, and I think that, you know, we had this sort of framing device of Nick in the sanitarium, so we could check back in with Nick and see how this experience affected him. And it also gave us license to use the narration throughout the movie. And, you know, in the book, you understand how Nick is experiencing, you know, these scenes and these people. Even if he kind of floats back and he's observing in the book, like his voice is, you know, all throughout that stuff. But if you kind of pull it out, really, he's not participating in all of it. So we found a way to do that so we could be with Nick, and he is grounded even though he kind of evolves through the story and participates more and more, and then ultimately is sort of disheartened and broken at the end when he's, you know, disgusted by people's lack of just common decency, I think. And then in reflecting, having some perspective on it, sees it a bit differently. And I mean, some of that stuff is the same, but he processes his feelings and he understands Gatsby better and his relationship with Gatsby, and ultimately inspired by that character.